So Iran ends up getting 50 U.S. hostages, students, and they hold them for how many years? For 444 days, a little over a year and a half, 444 days. But minutes after Reagan is being elected, inauguration, they release them. Why? Because Iran respects somebody that tells them, I swear to God, if you do X, Y, Z, we will make your life a living hell. And I'm telling you up front, but I would much rather just have a relationship with you.
I like the point that Patrick Bet-David just made there, because that's true. While I'm a person who I don't believe in a war per se when you go in and change out governments, and that's not even a question anymore. It's not some big secret. This is what we do. This is what we do. I mean, if you guys ever saw the General Wesley Clark, papers or the video when he talks about the 7 countries, and you know what? I think I might have to touch on that again. I might have to make a video on that next for this channel. We know that this is what we do. We change governments. Okay. This is a fact. It's what we do. So I'm not really into the change government model of war, because unfortunately you use American lives to do that. And you just displace and destroy countries. And what happens? The refugees end up having to come here. That's just how it goes. But if you can have a peace through strength model, I think that's perfect. When you say to somebody or another country, like, listen, you need to do X, Y, Z. And if you don't, I'm going to get crazy. But I really don't want to get crazy. I want us to be able to work together. I think that's a beautiful model. I think it is.
They like that. But they used Carter till the last second to squeeze everything they could out of Carter. Just the same way Iran is using every single ounce they can squeeze out of Biden till the last second. They're not going to let up until they see somebody coming in that they fear. And if they don't, they'll keep going for another 4 years.
And I'm not going to go into the geopolitical terms of what he's saying, although I do love the banter. I love the banter that I was getting on the video that I made with Anna Kasparian going off on the gentleman from the PBD podcast. I think that was pretty balanced on that episode, because I kept saying that, I understand why he was upset, and this is a lot for him too, because, as him being Jewish, and Israel was attacked. And so I understand what kind of emotion would come out of that. But there were a lot of people who were angry about some of the things I was saying. And I think it's great. I love it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get back to those comments. I think that's great. We have to have these discussions, guys, which is why, again, I'm going to always say, please don't forget to subscribe. Please hit the like button. I'm not here, if you're coming in good faith and giving an argument, man, let's have the dialogue. Pretty soon we're going to do live streams on this channel. It's going to be great. We're going to have these discussions. It's going to be awesome. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that like button. And back to what he was saying, I do believe that all countries look at Joe Biden and say, I'm going to get the best of America. Now is the time for me to get the best of America, whatever that means. I'm not going to get into what kind of nuclear arms and everything. I'm not going to get into that here, because there's 2 ways to look at that. Maybe this is just not that episode. Actually, this episode is showing what peace through strength looks like, and making the case for, a different style and approach to the presidency, especially when we have a presidential election that will be here before we know it this year.
The US presidential election is 9 months away now. And I look at it from across the pond, and I go to America a lot. But when I'm sitting here, I sort of have a better sort of outside view of it all. It does seem quite extraordinary that America, this extraordinary powerhouse of 340 million people, with the biggest economy in the world, the biggest military, a lot of the best brains, and such a dynamic heartbeat to the place, can only come up with Biden Trump again. Biden, who looks like he can barely string a sentence together or stay on his 2 feet. Trump is facing 91 criminal charges and is also heading into his 80s.
Now, before PBD makes his comments about what Piers Morgan just said, I'm just going to go ahead and call him PBD, right? I'm just going to say this. Right now, yes, America's still a powerhouse, still a superpower. But I always say on these videos or anywhere else, if I'm talking, I'm the same person. I am the same person. we need to start having realistic discussions about what is happening to this country, where we are going, and what we need to do to fix it. Like, and I'm talking real discussions, how we look on the world stage. The fact that Joe Biden, let's keep it real, was elected is a problem. This is not me coming for Democrats, but it's me saying what was so bad in the Trump era. And maybe, guys, drop a comment and let me know. Maybe I didn't notice something, but remember, if you don't know, like I was kind of far lefty around that time, and I still don't think it was that bad compared to now, where you have what was so bad with Trump, where Joe Biden, when he was campaigning, I mean, we barely saw him. And so this thing about voting against someone is very dangerous because we are facing, problems and conflicts worldwide. And it wasn't like that 5-6 years ago, right? So we need to have the discussion about, do we know why we're voting and how we're voting? At least we could start from there, right?
How is it that a country like America can get itself into this kind of position again?
How is it? It's the Constitution and the structure that we currently have. And these are the two people that America wants more than anybody else at a time like this. It's capitalism. Anybody else can get in there and compete. If you're born in America, you're above 35 years old, you can go and show the world that I'm the next guy and I think I can be the president. Guess what? DeSantis went in with $160 million. You know what America said? We like you for Florida, but we don't like you for America.
Right.
Nikki Haley went in and said, hey, I got Ken Griffin's money. I got LinkedIn money. I got money from everywhere. Look at the type of smart people that support me. I even got military people that support me. I got Boeing. I got this. Nope, we're not interested. Vivek comes in. Oh, wow, who is this guy? Very interesting. I like the way this guy talks. Maybe I just don't recognize him enough for 2024. Maybe I'll entertain him for 2028. Can we do a be back with him? Can we put him on a follow-up list in about 4 years and see what he's going to be doing? Because he's really interesting. Tim Scott, maybe you're an operations person, maybe a VP. You're not a number one. Asa Hutchinson, not interested. Marianne Williams, not interested. RFK, wow, very interesting. Let me get this straight. You're a Democrat who don't like the way vaccines were used, and you write a book about Fauci that sells 1 million copies plus, and you're supposed to defend what Fauci did, but you don't, and then you leave the Democratic Party to go become an independent. Your family is upset at you, and you have a rich history of people targeting your family, your uncle being assassinated, your father being assassinated, all these rich history, and then they're not giving you Secret Service, and you're getting 21, 22, 23%. Yeah. This is a very interesting candidate. You have the worst medical voice. Some people would have said, this guy's not going to make it. America didn't care if you don't have the best voice. They cared that you have substance. Look where America was at, that they simply wanted a different argument. He's also 69, 70 years old, right? So we don't have a lot of options. Of course, Piers, there's a section from Republicans and the Dems that wanted a Newsom-DeSantis matchup. Okay, they wanted DeSantis to climb California against Florida. They wanted that to take place. A lot of people wanted that pay-per-view fight, but Americans on the right simply said, we don't want DeSantis.
But here's the thing, Patrick.
So, I love the way how I had to let him cook, right? Because it's just, I had to let him continue to drop it off. Let me tell you something, PBD, me and him, there's maybe one thing we may not agree on, just one thing for the most part. I think this guy's amazing. I do. So I'm sorry if I'm glazing him a little, right? But he's very clear when he speaks, and he makes the argument, or he makes the point straightforward and gives you examples. And he broke down the whole thing with the DeSantis. We like you for Florida, but not America, and that's what I was saying. And Vivek, hey, you know what? This guy seems good. Why don't we drop him off on the waiting list and we'll come right back to it? That's what it is. When Piers Morgan says you can't do better than Biden and Trump, it's like, well, what does that even mean? I like that he started off with, we have a constitution and this is how it works. Then it's a competition thing. It is. A lot of people say this thing to me about, it's because we only believe in a two-party system. You have RFK Jr., who is actually running as an independent. Now, unfortunately, you do need a lot of money to run for president. And why I say unfortunately is because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are really good who have great ideas. But then again, is it wrong to say unfortunately, is it right to say unfortunately? Because if you are so persuasive, if you are so smart that you can manipulate people, and not in a bad way, so we want to use the word persuade people, then you should be able to raise as much money as you need. You should. So, it all comes down to who wants it bad enough. He's right. He is right. And who you are as a person, how you speak, how you conduct yourself. So sometimes when I hear that argument, now again with Joe Biden, it's a little different because he's running like as a incumbent, like re-election. So that's just, I'm not making that argument for him at all. In fact, I don't think he wanted to run the first time, but then they kind of forced him because we had to beat racism by voting for Joe Biden, whatever that means. Okay, but I like the arguments that PBD made. I do, and in the long run, I see people who are potential runners for the future. And I think they would be great too. They're kind of controversial, but I think they would do a great job because they're straightforward. That's another thing people respect is a straightforward, no BS kind of person. Tell me what you're thinking, right? Don't lie to me. Keep it real. And I may not like what you say, but at least I know that you're always going to keep it real. Back to the independent talk real quick. Yeah, RFK, he's an independent. So that whole thing about, oh, that's because we believe in a two-party system. No, it's because that third party has to get a lot of money or already have a lot of money in order to be seen, in order to be known. Because Ross Perot, y'all remember Ross Perot? Ross Perot, he was like, he was pretty good. He had a chance, Ross Perot. So I don't think it's that we just believe in a two-party system. I think that people don't know how to not move in only a two-party system. If that makes any sense, navigate the road, be yourself, and maybe you'll just be that independent that could make it. I think it will happen one day. I do.
I get the Trump phenomenon. I absolutely get it. I spoke to him the other day. We have a love-hate thing. We sort of fall out and get back together, and he's like that with almost everyone around him. I see a lot of qualities in Trump.
That's because he doesn't trust a lot of y'all. Like I'm gonna keep it for, like I don't know that man. I've never been to dinner with him. You know what I mean? I do not know that man. But what I do know is that people sell people out for money, and when you get close to people who are very powerful, you can't have a bunch of people around because next thing you know, they're saying weird things about you, or they're saying things and taking your words out of context. Right? I'm just saying. I've seen that happen. Again, I do not know that man, but what I know is, if somebody tells me something in confidence, I'm not going to run back and try to switch it out just for my clout. Like, I'm not doing that.
A lot of negatives. It's pretty obvious what those are now. People know what they're voting for, and he's surging away in the GOP nomination polls, and I'm not surprised. I get his appeal because people think he's a kind of wrecker of the status quo. He's someone who could just barrel through normal Washington nonsense and get stuff done. And they think he's got unfinished business. And they think, before the pandemic, he did a pretty good job with immigration and with the economy in particular. And the kind of on the foreign stage, no one quite knew where they were with him, and that kept the peace. So that's kind of where he is, despite all the negatives. I don't get the Biden phenomenon. So I don't think there is one. Biden is a career politician who was at his best maybe 20 years ago. You can see the footage on video of him, when he's a fire.
We are going to let PBD answer first, and I'm going to finish off with my answer to that.
Brown senator, he's great. He's not that guy anymore. He's clearly suffering from either senility or dementia, and it's getting worse. And the idea he can do 4 more years, I think, is ridiculous. It's for the birds. But for some reason, the Democrats seem trapped, almost paralyzed into this idea that it can only be him. And I don't get that. I get the Trump thing on the right. I just don't get the Biden thing on the left.
Let me ask you, Piers, you've been around for a while, longer than I have in this world, media, politics. What do you think the DNA of the Democratic strategists behind, I'm talking about like the Obamas, the Michelles, the Pelosi's, the real power players, right? What do you think their DNA is for them to say, you know what, let's just take a loss here and we'll go focus on 2028? Do you think they're wired that way?
I would be astonished if, even if they were prepared to get Trump back into the White House.
Perfect. I'm with you. So we're on the same page. So I don't think for a second these guys are sitting around saying, let's just take the L in 2024. It's okay. Let's focus on 2028. I don't think they're wired. I think they're going to fight to the very, very end. And if they lose, Then they're going to make the candidate's life a living hell for 4 years. They're still not giving up, right? That's the wiring of the left on what they do. Having said that, if that's the case, do you really think they're going to go with Biden? Do you really think that's what they're going to be doing? Do you really think the team on Obama's camp that's going around kind of underground asking donors, hey, how do you feel about a Michelle Obama candidacy? Do you like a Michelle Obama candidacy? How about the fact that people in Las Vegas, Las Vegas is not in the business of losing money. House rules. They always win money, right? Let's look at the odds on how much odds have changed. If you wanted to go bet a year ago on Michelle Obama, I want to say it was 100 to 1. If you bet 100 to 1, Michelle Obama's going to be the president. Yeah, we'll put Michelle Obama there. No way it's going to happen. You know, right now, number one odds of becoming the president in 2024, Vegas odds, gambling, is Trump. Number two is Biden. You know who number three is 11 to 1? Michelle Obama.
Is it really?
Why?
So really, this was kind of done a little earlier than that. I don't think they're going to run a Michelle Obama, because if they were going to run a Michelle Obama, they would have ran Michelle Obama already. You know what I mean? So for me, I think that's not the option. This was a little earlier. I mean, I don't know. People say that about Michelle Obama, but I just feel like by now we would know this is 2024.
Why is that? What do they know that the rest of us don't know about? Is there something going on there? Is there some insiders? You think Vegas is going to give up that kind of money to people? No, they're not going to. And this is a gambling thing. For some people that are pure politicians, they gamble on who becomes a president. So,
well, I guess
I think Newsom, their biggest problem is.
Okay, so I'm not even going to get into all the, because we're not going to prolong this any longer. And I don't know. I'm trying to see. Let's look and see how long ago this was, because sometimes I like to look at things and it was about a month ago. By now, we should have known that somebody else was going to run besides Joe Biden. The fact is, I think that they're just going to run against Trump. And that's like they did already before in 2020. The only difference is people are broke today. Okay? They are. The regular person is broke. And when I say broke, I don't mean like, oh my God, everybody's broken and starving and hungry. No, I mean that they have a little less than what they had before. Even if it's in their 401k, right? Even if they're perfectly fine on their regular day, but that 401k got tore up, or their future trades or whatever, something got tore up by Biden, they're not gonna forget that. So I think that that's why I don't think it's gonna work, because people are ready for, to get back to that old thing. Just like I said this though in 2018, 2019, I think it was 2019 when they were talking about impeaching Trump again or something. That was a full lefty. And I was like, I don't know why they keep talking about impeaching this guy. Let's just vote him out. They're just going to make Joe Biden run. Vote him out, because people want that old thing back. People want that Obama back. Closest thing to Obama is Joe Biden. Run Joe Biden, and that's how the country will win. Sadly, I was right. Although I have my questions about certain things, but I was right. I was too right, because I understand how people run on emotion. I do. Now, you have a bunch of women who are sitting up here running around about abortion, all this other stuff, whatever. But the fact is, for the most part, the majority of people who are going to vote, I think personally, are like, yo, man, under this Biden administration, there was just too much going on. Look at the border. Look at all, you know what? Why don't we just, hey, listen, I don't like the guy. He has a bad attitude, XYZ, but I just don't feel like we were in complete Marxist chaos like this. Let's just give him one more try. I know, guys, maybe I won't tell my friends. I'm just going to go behind the curtain and I'll just, I'll hit that T real quick. Nobody needs to know that I did that. I wonder how many times that's happened. I wonder how many times that happened in 2020, to be honest. But we'll leave that alone.